I'm Sami, and today I'm talking to you guys about web performance. And the title of my presentation is none other than creating the fastest website in the world. So during this presentation, we will take a look at a Bootstrap template, looking like this one. And our objective is to make it as fast as possible. So I can show what kind of the application looks like. So it's this typical one-pager template built by Bootstrap. So you got some images, some font, and contact info. And that's about it. First time when I was looking at this template, I was using the Chrome development tools and doing little debugging for it and checking out how fast does it work. First thing that I did was in the Chrome development tools, I emulated the good 3G connection, which is typical connection speed for the mobile users. So when looking at it, I can see that there's in total 27 requests. So it's loading the Bootstrap CSS files, Bootstrap JavaScript, jQuery, and a couple of other jQuery plugins. So in total, it loaded 1.2 megabytes of data. Who here thinks that 1.2 megabytes is much? Okay, so I'm putting it less. Okay, everybody thinks it's too much. Yeah, actually the typical size of your current web page today is about 2.4 megabytes. So this one is only 50% out of that. And when looking at it in the 3G connection, it took about 6.75 seconds to load the entire document and all its resources. And our objective today is to get this number down as possible. So then I was doing some extra testing with the Lighthouse tool that Amadi presented last time. In there I can see like multiple different things, like first meaningful paint on what time that happens. And in this application it happens at 4.7 seconds. So when a mobile user comes to my website, he has to look at just widescreen for 4.7 seconds until getting some content to the site. And then last visual changed, it happened at 6.5 seconds. So at 6.5 seconds, all of the images and all of the text were already loaded. And the time to interactive time was 6.3 seconds. Time to interactive means that at which point the site has loaded enough content that the user can actually be interactive with it, meaning that there's some button that the user can press and have feedback on that. And then in what I'm usually checking out when I'm doing some performance testing or trying to optimize websites, first thing, the most important thing that I look at is the first meaningful paint, meaning that how many seconds does it take that the user can see some content on the website. And then second metric is the time to interactive, meaning that how many seconds does it take that the user can actually start using the site. And then the third part is how many bytes of data were transferred in total. But rather than me just talking about it, I thought that we can play a game about it. And it's called Mythbusters, Improving Performance. And just a sec, I need to do some coding for Google Slides. Yeah. All right, you can play this game on your mobile phones or laptops, whatever you want. You can find the game in bit.ly/vaadin-vote. And in there you can find this most simplistic UI that you've ever seen. There's just one slider that goes up and down. During this game, we are going to check out some different ways of improving the performance on our site. And your job is just to put the slider either up or down, whether it will have a big impact or no impact at all. I see that there's already a lot of people coming there. Can we test out that this truly works? Can everybody put the slider up? As much higher, yes. And then down. Yeah, awesome. It seems to be working fine. Okay, you can put it back in the middle. Yeah, as mentioned when I started, that we are using the bootstrap template in dealing with here. So the details that we started with is that the first paint that happened at 4.8 seconds, last visual change at 6.8, time to interactive was 6.3 seconds, and in total 1.2 megabytes of data were transferred. Okay, so let's go to the first fix that we have. Moving all the script tags to the bottom of the body. So now you can move the slider either up or down, whether do you think that this will have a good improvement on our site or not.
On which metric?
On all of the metrics that I showed previously. First paint, time to interactive, data transfer. So just think about in total. Okay, looks like it's going a bit down, so a little reddish. Actually, this simple fix had a huge improvement already. The first paint it was 4.8 seconds, and now it's only 2.8. So we got 2 seconds out of the white screen time already. And also there were some little trends of last visual change and the time to interactive both going down also. But the data transfer size, of course, stayed at the same level. Then, fix number 2, bundling all of JavaScript files to one files. And I'm using HTTP1 here. So if you have used, let's say, Webpack or some other tool, you've probably noticed that when the Webpack bundles your application or compiles the app, it bundles all of your code into one file.
It's a shame to use HTTP1 in 2017.
Sorry about that. Okay, so looks like you think that this is a good fix. And actually, this was a big surprise for me. The first paint time actually went up in this case. So I had jQuery, Push-Up.js, and a couple of jQuery plugins. And when I put all of these in the same files, the first paint time actually went up. There was a little trend of last visual change and the time to interactive going down, but both of those were pretty much on the same level still.
Do you have any idea why?
No, actually. I think that is my job after this. Yeah.
You get less requests. So less requests.
Yeah, but are those requests the bottleneck?
Yeah.
Or is the bottleneck just downloading bytes and actually parsing the script?
But in this case,
one idea why that could happen is when it's all concatenated in one file, this file has to be downloaded completely before it gets processed.
Exactly.
And when it was separated into bundles, maybe the most important part was downloaded first.
Yep.
yeah. So in this case, at least it had a negative impact on our app. And then fix number 3, adding a defer attribute to the script files. So when you add a defer attribute, it will load until the whole page is loaded, and then run these JavaScript that are found in these scripts. So looks like it's a little bit over. Yeah, it's rising now. No, it's almost rising. Yeah, this too had a great impact. First paint time went under over 2 seconds. And also the last visual change and time to interactive both went down also. So this change had pretty much the same impact as was moving the JS files to the bottom of the body. Yes, Michael?
Do you do these fixes on top of each other or independent?
Yeah, Michael is asking, do I do these fixes one at a time or all up together? Answer is that one at a time. So now it's clear state in each fix. And then fix number 4, optimizing images. So in the Mac, there's at least this software called Image Optim that I use frequently. And what it does, it's just a drag and drop, and it will reduce the file sizes and take unnecessary info out of the site, out of the images, and pretty much just optimize them. So what do you think? Good fix? No fix?
How many images were there? What were the?
There were, I think, 7 or 8.
Like mean size?
Like medium-sized. Like 400 pixels. 400 pixels about. Yeah, actually this fix didn't have pretty much any impact. The reason why is that all of the images that were used in this app were all pretty much well optimized already. So the image optimizing just took like 0.1 megabyte data out of the image sizes. So not that much. But in some other applications where I've used this, this has done a huge impact. So I'm recommending to use it. Then fix number 5, minifying all of your JavaScript and CSS files. So minifying means, of course, that just minifying the files, that it will take all the extra spaces and extra line breaks away from the files, and meaning that the files will be at a smaller size. So I saw that trend was going up, and now it's staying in the middle. Okay. This too had a great impact. So this was pretty much the first fix that we significantly got the transfer data size also going down. But also there were great changes for the last visual change and the time to interactive. And also for the first page time, it went down 2 seconds.
I have a question.
Yes?
So was your server gzipping the data? Or
yes, gzipping.
But it still helps?
Yeah. Okay, fix number 6, using CDN versions of jQuery and Bootstrap, and actually CDN versions of all of the jQuery plugins also. Okay, it looks like some mixed feelings. Somebody says good, and somebody says not. It pretty much actually had a great impact. First paint time went down 2 seconds. Last visual change time to interactive both also went down. But also what was surprising to me, that also the transfer data size went down, even though we are transferring the each all the same files. But I learned that it's probably just that the from development tools don't show these files if they are coming from the CDN page. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
Or they were zipped there on CDN.
Yeah.
Well, they were cached by some browser extensions.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, then fix number 7, we have just a couple of fixes left. Putting all of the media queries to their own files. So when you are creating responsive design, you've probably used CSS media queries, but also you can use these media queries in the link media attribute altogether. So you don't have to specify inside the file the media rules. Okay, looks like it's a bad fix. Let's check it out. Yeah, actually this didn't do any improvement. Only the last visual change was the only thing that might have gone a little down. But still, even though we are setting the media queries already in the import, it's still importing the files. Let's say we have a mobile CSS that we want to load only mobile, but it still will load it even though we are in desktop. So it won't do any help on that. Then fix number 8, pre-catching our site with service workers. What do you think?
Are you measuring the first load or following loads?
Good question. First load. Yeah. This is, actually just true. Service workers won't help the user in any way when they are first time visiting the site. It only helps on the second time or the third time when they are returning and the service workers have already been registered. So good catch. Yeah, that was actually all of the fixes. What do you think? What was the winner fix that we presented here? Any guesses?
CDN?
Yeah, CDN. So CDN had the biggest impact on our site. But now, let's go to the boss level. And actually, at this moment, you won't need the application anymore, so you can close it already. But now, to the boss level, putting all of these fixtures together. First paint, it was 4.8. Any guesses what it's now? Who here think it's less than 1 second? Less than 2 seconds? Less than 3? 4? 5? Over 6 seconds? It was actually just 1.7 seconds when we are combining all of these pictures together. So in total, first time it was almost 5 seconds, and now the user only has to check out the widescreen for only 1.7 seconds. So I think that is a great improvement. Yeah.
So you're combining all the fixes together, even though some fixes individually had no effect?
Yeah, yeah. Well, those fixtures that had no impact, I didn't use those. Only the.
So only the ones that had positive effects you accumulated.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I didn't bundle my JavaScript files in this case.
Okay.
But yeah, last visual change, it was 6.7 seconds. Who here think it's less than 1, less than 2, 3, 4? Okay, so people are answering 3 or 4, over 5. Yeah. So it's only, it was only 3.8 seconds. So now it only takes 3.8 seconds for all the images on all the resources to be loaded. And then time to interactive was 6.3. Any guesses? You can just shout out. What do you think it's now?
4.2.
What?
4.2.
4.2?
3.
3?
3.5.
3.5. Yeah. 3.5 was very close. Nicely. Yeah, it was only 3.4 seconds. And then the data transfer size was in total 1.2 megabytes. Now you can shout out again. What do you think that is this time?
808.
808. 1.1.
600.
600. Yeah, 800 and 600 are pretty close. It's right in the middle, 703 kilobytes. So we got that down by almost 50%, just by using these 7 or 6 pretty simple fixes to our website. So now, just to summarize on what to do on your applications. First part, what I want to emphasize is minify the front-end code always. So minify JavaScript, CSS, and even you can minify HTML. You will save a couple of bytes on that also. Somebody's playing with it. I'm still. Yeah, and then you can place the script tags to the bottom of the body, or also pretty much the same effect if you use the defer attribute on the script files. So it doesn't matter, but please do either one of those. And then optimize images, even though it didn't do any improvement in here. Usually, in normal cases, it has a great impact, so I'm recommending to do that. And then think about CDN. Usually, on my workflow, I either npm install or bower install, and I serve all of my resources locally. But maybe next time I will think about using also CDN. And with the service workers, it's actually great that you can pre-catch cross-origin resources also. So you can pretty much nicely put CDN on your app. And then the last part, enhance the service worker. Enhance it with service workers. So I'm getting some negative feedback over here. No, it's lovely. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, even though service workers won't help on the first load, it will improve the user experience greatly on the second and the third load and so on. And you can also use your apps in offline with service workers. But then, as important as the fixers, I'm recommending to always measure the fixes. For example, with bundling my JavaScript files, it was a bit of a surprise for me that it didn't do any improvement at all. So always measure. And there's a couple of tools that you can use. For once, there's the Google's PageSpeed Insight. Anybody here use that? Okay, a couple of guys. With it, you can just give up some URL, and it will tell briefly some fixes that you can do on your site, but it's still kind of like limited amount of data that you can get by using the PageSpeed Insight. So I'm more recommending using the Lighthouse tool that Amadi presented last time. With it, you can get all the info about how progressive your app is, but also a lot of information on how fast is your site or how fast does it load. For example, in all of these fixes that I did, I measured them with Lighthouse every time. Lighthouse, it comes as a Chrome browser plugin and also as an NPM package. So if you don't want to use Chrome, you can also use it in your terminal. Recommending to use it. And then just a couple of other tours about Chrome development tools. Anybody here who doesn't use Chrome for development? Oh man! I was hoping that everybody used.
They are using Chromium.
Oh. Nicely put out. Yeah, but with Chrome development tools, there's pretty much like 2 tabs that are important for you. Highly recommending to check out June's presentation about Chrome development tools. I will just briefly mention that there's the network tab that I first showed in the first part. And with the network part, you can just see all the resources that are downloading your site and how many seconds does it take to load, for example, your JavaScript files or whatever. And in total, you can get the total amount of data transferred. And also, other tab, the timeline tool. And with the timeline tool, you can get like more featured insights on how fast does your app work, like at what time does it render the DOM, at what time does it load the scripts, and so on. Really recommending to use it. And just to summarize this all up, I just have one more thing to say. It was research done by Google, and they say that if your page takes more than 3 seconds to load, 53% of mobile users will abandon the site, so they will move on. So please, make sure that you don't ever go over the 3-second line. You can find on my GitHub page all the performance testing that I did with the push-up template. And now I think we have little time for questions also. Thank you. Yeah.
Any measurements if service workers are installed and second load? How fast is it?
Yeah, Ilya asking, is there any performance improvement if the service workers are loaded on the second time? Actually, I didn't measure this, but I can almost say with certain that there is big improvement in there. Yeah, Tato?
I guess you did these measurements only with Chrome, so did you compare where the performance improvement similarly in Firefox or IE?
Tato is asking, did I do these measurements with other browsers than Chrome? And the answer is no. I just want to measure on each fixes that how many seconds do they fix or improve.
Is it possible on Firefox to limit the network bandwidth? I'm not sure.
You can do it on your machine instead to a proxy.
Well, yeah.
Only has.
Do you have any gut feeling on how these changes will affect if you have a larger site, for example? So which is the best first steps to take if you have a very large site and you don't maybe have access to all the...
Well, I think the first thing that you want to take a look at the CSS and the JavaScript files that are they minified. Like that is the #1 thing. And then you can check out that at what place are the JavaScript files loaded. Are they at the top of the head? Then you might want to change the place of them. And yeah, I think just with those 2 fixes you can get like really far already. All right, yeah.
One thing is that what about removing completely jQuery and Bootstrap stuff?
Yes. Yeah, it was suggested that I should remove push-up and jQuery, and I can promise I every time do that.
Get back to Gopher.
Yeah. I just recall that there was this blog post shared in the R&D flow doc during Christmas time, where the exact same experiment was done, and the guy basically removed everything that wasn't used from the JavaScript dependencies that he had, and that had the biggest impact basically for him. So yeah.
Wasn't the name of that article also creating the fastest web page in the world?
It was actually, yes. I can recommend that it had also some interesting facts.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.